We're back here at Pro League, live at the Nexon Arena. I am Valdez. With me today is Wolf, and we're going to jump into the second match of the night. It's going to be Samsung Galaxy Con versus the SBENU Pro Gaming team.
The SBENU Pro Gaming team rising to power, taking their win last week, and now playing again. We're up against Samsung here today. As you guys can see, the team is 2-3 with a -3 indicator. One of the teams I expected to come into this season was a powerhouse, but has so far struggled to do so.
Yeah, it seems like other teams have just been doing a bit better, whereas Samsung kind of stagnated. They lost their big ace in Solar, who's been doing the worst out of all the players on the team. Other players have had to step up, such as this guy, Reality, playing a bunch more, especially these days in round 3, but he's got a very hard match ahead of him against Furious in the first match here. The map is going to be Deadwing. Great big map. We could see Mech.
We could. Now, Reality known for Mech in this matchup. Furious known for late game play in general and being very solid and very good at dealing with turtle play, whether it's a Protoss, whether it's a Terran. And even honestly, Furious, we've seen him in late game ZVZ and Wings of Liberty. He was one of the guys who's like going Broodlord versus Broodlord in ZVZ and every now and then adding Ultralisk. And I mean, we never see that anymore. And even in Wings of Liberty, we very rarely saw it. It's like only Furious and July Zerg would ever go to that late game stage in ZVZ. But my point is here, he's going to be very comfortable against a mech player if that's what Reality decides to go for here. And just in general, Valdez, recently Furious has looked unstoppable. So just all those things should be kept in mind going into this one.
Furious is on fire these days. I don't know what they're feeding them over there at SBENU, but he's joined a bunch of those veterans to really come out of their shell and just do extremely well these days. Come back in force, especially here in Pro League. So glad that they're sending him out first. I think that's a great pick. It's a great way to get some momentum going regardless which race he goes against. He's pretty much good against anyone at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, definitely a good choice. I'm going to set them off to most likely an early lead. We'll see what Reality's bringing to the table. Reality known for playing those super long games like we saw him play against Sulky last season.
Definitely do not count Reality out just yet. Really need to see how it's going to go down. As we said before, it's going to be Deadwing as the map for that TVZ. Then we're going to jump into game number 2. It's going to be Journey versus MMA at TVT. MMA seems to always hit TVCs. He looks very, very strong there. But Journey, you know, he's got that upwards arrow. He's doing better these days.
Yep. Finding his place like his teammate Bravo. Both of them were former SKT Terrans. I mean, finding a better place. Deer in recent times been pretty much, you know, if you flip a coin, he might look good, he might look bad. Like
that's essentially what Deer is at this point.
He's very inconsistent.
I think he's on like a 3-game winning streak or so. So he was sitting at around 10-10, but now he's gone up. So doing a bit better these days at least.
DRG has been fielded twice in a row here. So SBENU definitely having some confidence in the guy. I'm not entirely sure how much faith I have in him going into this matchup. We'll have to wait and see. As you guys could see, in 2015, they're tied 1-1 against each other. Terrans included in here 5 for the second time this season.
Yeah, doesn't happen too often that you get 5 Terrans in one matchup. It's pretty crazy. Makes sense with all the Terrans that they got over there at SBENU, and of course, Samsung really relying on their Terran force these days. I mean, you got Reality for one, you got Journey, you got Bravo coming up later tonight. It's pretty insane.
Yeah, it's a lot of Terrans, a lot of TVTs we had scheduled with Gumiho, even, you know, was being scheduled to play a match against
Maru, Marine King.
Yep. So TVT is the name of the game today. But we're starting things off with a TVZ. Going on to Deadwing, as you mentioned before, one of our larger maps. A map that Curious would feel very comfortable on, considering his style. He'd love to play a Protoss here as well.
Yeah. That game versus Sulky was on Star Station, right?
Yeah.
Where they kept going around in circles around that the
little
hole in the middle of the map.
Yeah.
That went on forever, man. And let's take a look at the predictions here. All 3 of Team Salmon going for Curious, as well as the MC on the Korean desk going for Curious. Only the 2 analysts over there going for Reality. Maybe they know something we don't.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're just banking on Reality's very solid mech style against the Zerg.
Really hard to call, but I would definitely favor Curious results-wise in recent times. So 3-3 in Pro League this season. Overall, this guy has played a ton of Pro League games, starting from the Hybrid League in StarCraft 2, but in StarCraft 1, this guy played quite a few games as well. You can look up his Brood War stats if you really want to get into it. But he is 5-1 versus Curious, and that's something I did not know.
Yeah, I didn't know about that stat. Must have been from a pretty long time ago, though. Curious, in recent times, is doing extremely well. So I would not be surprised if those stats change up a bit more in Curious's favor after tonight, but let's see. Reality looking pretty focused here, but Curious looking like a badass in the booth. Got that jet black hair.
5-6, but he's on his way up right now. 2-3 versus Terran. But if you look at his GSL results in his recent group, as well as the other tournaments he's been playing in recent times, the guy looks really, really good. He's on fire. In fact, I could see Curious getting his very first GSL finals this season with how well he's playing. It's totally possible.
He's that on fire. He's burning up, man. He's just playing straight up super strong across the board against pretty much any race. I think he took a 3-0 recently, right? Against, who is it in GSL?
Drawing a blank.
Yeah, me too, but regardless, a very, very strong player. Let's see how he can do here against Reality on this very big map. Are we going to have it drawn out to that super late game? Or are we going to see one of these players try to end it a little bit early, try to play against the map, try to take their opponent off guard? Let's see what will happen here. We're going into the match right now on Deadwing for game number 1. Down here in the bottom left, in the blue, for Samsung Galaxy Con, it is Reality.
It looks just like him.
What is that, man? That's got to be some character.
Yeah, I don't know that
He
character.
asks, do you like sugar?
Up to the top left in pink.
I don't know.
For SBENU's pro gaming team. It's Curious.
Kind of scary, man.
We know that character. That's a minion.
Yeah.
I never watched those movies, though, but I know it.
They just released, actually, EA, a new mobile game. Not released. They just, what is it?
Announced?
Yeah, announced.
Unveiled?
Over at, yeah, something like that. Over at E3. I stayed up really late last night watching that one. Unfortunately, a lot of the unveilings, announcements were about EA Sports, which I'm not really too into these days. I used to be a bit more into the NHL games.
Well, you know, going back into, like, talking about E3, one of the games I saw that looks pretty cool that I used to play a lot, it's an EA game, Electronic Arts, is the new Star Wars Battlefront game.
Oh, my God.
Did you see that?
That was so sick, man.
So
that's for PS4, though, right?
I think it's also going to be for PC. But if it's not, man,
Awesome.
with the Final Fantasy VII coming out, I guess I just have to buy a PS4.
PS4 is being bought, man.
I only just got a PS3 last year, and now I guess it's time to upgrade.
Yeah, you got to do what you got to do. If they keep coming out with games like that, it's hard not to. Let's just hope there's not too much DLC. I know EA's got a bad rep for that.
Yeah. Well, DLC definitely something we're seeing a ton of in general across the board. I mean, this is a topic that we could talk about because it's related to esports as this game ramps up pretty slowly here. You know, we see a lot of downloadable content in free-to-play games like other Blizzard game titles like Blizzard Heroes, Hearthstone, you know, other esports titles like League of Legends, World of Tanks. It's a common thing. Smash Brothers just recently releasing Roy, Ryu, and Lucas as downloadable content, as well as some maps. It's a thing that is going to become the more norm, so it's tough to fight it, but it is sad for hardcore gamers like us that play so many games that, like, to get the full experience in any game that we're playing, we end up having to pay a lot of money.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying, but the kind of setup that I like, that I enjoy, is the free-to-play games where it's optional. You can grind it out, you know.
Sure. Like Hearthstone, for example.
Hearthstone, Heroes, League of Legends, you name it. But you can spend money if you want to kind of expedite the process.
Or get a cool skin.
Exactly. But for certain single-player games, I don't really like to see some DLC, really. Unless it's like a build off of the game, and they're not trying to keep it away from the original release just to get that extra money.
Sure.
That kind of annoys me, and I know a lot of people like to talk about that at times.
Ooh,
look at this.
Proxy Factory. Looks like we're going to see some hidden Banshees, but we also could see a siege tank push here on this location. That's actually more likely, I would say.
Just based on the positioning of it.
It's a TY tank, man.
Yeah.
This is pretty cool, though. And already we see Reality forcing these Lings to be microed very well, but not a single kill. So good control by Curious.
He's not messing around with that. This is what I was talking about. He's not really playing against the map, but he's playing to the map, but it's not like a very late game strategy here. He's going to try to get some early damage with this kind of push. And by the way, the return of the really scary bug comes right in front of Wolf's observing PCs.
I'm like, guys, I want to check the production tab, but it looks like it might sting me.
By the way, floating this factory over the observer, or rather the Overlord, sees everything. So this will be totally shut down in due time. Already getting to work on those rocks is Curious. 2 Queens, 3 Zerglings, even a Spinecrawler being made.
The Starport's at home, so he's not going to be doing anything too tricky with this early attack. You know, it's not like he's going to be trying to micro, you know, units in and up and down with medevacs from this location into maybe, you know, either that or a proxy Banshee can maybe help pick off the, you know, pick off Spore Crawlers with the siege tank and then do a lot of damage that way, which we have seen before. It's really, really technical. He's just going to be sending Marines from home, the safer way of doing things.
He's going to send a drop over there and just try to micro that with the tank.
Yeah. It's not going to be like picking tanks up and Hellions up from this factory, though.
Supply block right now is Reality. Focusing too much on his build, it seems. Speed finishes up. This Reaper is going to go down, kind of limits the amount of vision, but his factory is going to float over. Those rocks take so long to take down.
But they're almost down, and then he's just going to kill the siege tank. Like, I don't... Okay, is that a tight wall? I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
No, it's definitely not. This is like laughably bad. I don't even...
That was a cool idea there, Reality, but...
That's like that was his whole build.
That was very funny, actually. He was trying to protect his tank with the factory.
That's just like clearly a lack of preparation there. I don't know what to say. Like, that just doesn't work. The blocking of the factory.
Yeah. Maybe this drop to get some damage done. The Ling's a bit out of position.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, he's going to get a decent amount of kills here, but let's talk about like what he lost and what he gained. A ton of Lings are forced to be made, which meant less drones, and he had to focus them on the rocks, which meant that Reality could back at home safely, secure this base without too much of a worry. He could get his Marines ready to go across the map to harass without Lings or Banelings attacking him at his front. He knew Curious was going to be on the defensive, but he committed to a very early factory that produced 1 siege tank and a tech lab that damaged the spine.
Yeah. And look at this. Curious wants to follow up. He wants to end this game, it looks like, or at least do some critical damage. Almost getting that medevac there. And it's going to be able to come back here. No Queens in the vicinity to take it down. So those Marines actually getting a great trade over here where the rest of Curious's army is going for this gigantic attack. A ton of Banelings going straight for the bunker.
Well, he does have a decent Speedling follow-up, but these Hellions really concern me, Valdez. With good targeting here, he can eliminate those Banelings. He doesn't have his tanks ready, though, on his new factories at home. And this is a big issue here. Good control so far, but he needs to keep those away from the SCVs. Oh, boy. Oh.
Trying to go for that Hellion, but...
Oh, so many of those SCVs are low. Why are we not looking at those? Okay, well, he didn't hit them.
Yep. Very, very low SCVs. At the same time, he will eventually clean it up. Great micro there from Reality. 1 small misstep, but at the same time, he was microing his Marines back here at the drop, so players kind of trading damage, but if you look at where we're at in this game, we have 37 drones here for Curious. He's stuck on 2 base. He at least has a lair, but his economy is really, really behind.
He only has 1 Queen, too, so he's missing a lot of injects. He even lost an Overlord to this Viking. I think Reality is massively ahead despite taking some damage to that Baneling attack because...
It just didn't do enough damage.
It didn't do enough damage. He has 3 CCs, triple mules. He has his factory set up the way he wants them to be. He's even sending one back home. It looks like that one that he had from earlier.
I would have actually just loved to see Curious defend that weird kind of the tank shenanigans and just go straight up macro. and just sit back and defend everything and just get super far ahead in terms of that, because the build that Reality went for just did not work. It got totally cleaned up. He could have got so far ahead. He kind of saw blood in the water and did not work out. And here we are. Curious only getting his third base up now.
Curious definitely still has opportunities to come back in this game. Thors aren't ready yet. He's rushed out a quick Spire here off 2 hatch. He's building up that gas. So let's see how much damage the Mulists get done. Obviously, as soon as that tech lab finishes, we are going to see a Thor pop out. The third factory is on the way here for Reality. These Hellions should be shut down by the Spine, a few Banes at the top of the ramp. Baneling's no longer going to be useful in this game, as we are going to see a mech Terran. He's actually not making that Thor yet until he's supply block and can't afford it. They actually queued it, but because of the supply block, it's not actually coming out yet. +1 on the way. Mech upgrades still currently combined in the current build of Heart of the Swarm, so something to keep in mind. That's going to affect his Vikings as well as possibly Banshees in the late game.
And interesting that somehow Reality has spotted the fact that Curious is going for the Spire build. I think he must have seen it somewhere in the base when he was going for those drops, because he's totally prepared for this. He was getting a bunch of Vikings out before that door came out just to be safe, and just pushed everything away. 8 mutas do pop out regardless. They're going to come here towards that Watchtower, but a very nice reaction there from Reality, not going to lose anything. May even be able to bait straight into this Widow Mine.
He's going for it. Curious does not notice. Eats a lot of damage there, but Mule is still uncontested so far until those Vikings turn around. 1 goes down, and we have 2 Hellbats headed over towards dangerous territory here. They are spotted by an Overlord.
This is a cute little drop. It doesn't look like Curious has seen it just yet.
Oh yeah, not yet actually. That was just a coincidence. He's about to pass the Overlord now. This could do a lot of damage because he doesn't have very many units at home at all.
Oh boy, there's nothing here except that Queen, dropping it straight into that mineral line. One more hit could have done a ton of damage. A lot of those drones very, very low. But instead, he's just going to delay a ton of mining time. Get it looks like 4 drones in total.
Yep. And wiping a few of those lings as well. See a huge force of Hellions coming in here to clear up a bunch of creep. That's trying to connect those 4 bases. Oh, we left for 1 Hellion by mistake here.
Takes a bunch more damage with that. One of them got a gigantic hit. Going to get up to 9 drone kills now in that main base. In reality, he's just getting so far ahead.
This is a mech player's dream, is to be able to take 3 bases for free, have a 4th base on the way, be up in supply versus a Zerg player, have the counter to the tech that you tried to rush out, and then is able to basically transition into scouting and pressuring, saying, all right, when are you coming to the roaches? When do I have to make sure I have to worry about siege tanks? What are you doing next? I have total control. I'm harassing you constantly, nonstop. This is one weak spot here that Curious will exploit, but not for long. Just picking off 1 tank there.
Nicely done. Finding damage where he can. He really needs to do little things like this to try to come back in this game. Reality's going to have an incredibly scary push going on towards Curious in just a bit here. He doesn't even have to go for it just because, like you said, this map is so good for mech. He can get that 4th base up and just sit back and allow Reality, or rather Curious, to just, you know, sit back at his own base. And he's not really going to be able to punish Reality here. Just based on the way the map is set up. And Reality is just sitting back. He's got 1,000,000 turrets. He has a Thor over here protecting his tanks. He's got a gigantic fleet of Vikings even. So these Muta's going to pick off 1 tank, but he almost loses 2 of them for it.
Yeah, using the Mutas to harass at this point with all the defense that Reality set up is almost like a liability. Rushing out now, that quick high for Hydralisk. We're going to see 1 medevac get spotted here. It looks like probably picked off. Not even necessarily. Oh, if he microed it better, he would have saved it.
Not sure about that heal there on the SV. Not sure about that one.
I think he just A-clicked it, and which is actually on the medevac, the command for heals hotkey is A, so actually if you do that, it'll just heal anything in his path.
Oh, boy.
Oh.
This Viking fleet is doing so much against this very low count of mutas. You just cannot find any harass damage with there's
He's
this many
Vikings
on the map.
Yeah, baits him into the Vikings. Is he going to lose any? No. Scan goes down. He's like, oh, wait, you don't have any more mutas? Never mind. I'm going to keep chasing. Sees the hive here. Doesn't see the Hydralisk just yet. And is starting to switch into massive starport play. I suppose probably expecting a Broodlord transition very quickly. Reality just can do whatever he wants at this point. This kills Amelis with Vikings. And Hellbat's over here. Hellbat's in the main.
Spinecrawler to help out towards that 3rd base. And it looks like only 1 Hellbat makes it out of this drop. But the Vikings are following up, going for all these Overlords, in fact.
Yep, just ignoring the Spore Crawler, and if he just micros the weakened ones back, actually he can continue to do damage here. Hydras, those do get spotted. Going to cost him a few of his Vikings. He's actually going for Battle Cruisers, Valdez. We have a Fusion Core on the way. Reality's about to play with his food, man.
Yeah.
Blue Flame Hellion's not the most effective unit versus Roaches, so he's definitely going to pull those back.
It seems like Curious may just go for a big hit with 2-2 and a bunch of Hydras and Roaches and Vipers out here. Not much else he can really do here. He's finally got out that high, but it's pretty much only for the Vipers. We have Reality now on 4 bases to the 4 bases of Curious. Curious would have loved to get that tech out much earlier, have a much better economy earlier on in this game, have more bases. But it doesn't really seem like he has the answer to what Reality has here.
High-sec auto-tracking, +3 for vehicles, +2, 5 more Vikings to control the air. At this point, Curious is essentially out of luck, right? Like, I mean, what can he hope to achieve with this small economy and this group of units that just simply... We have the Behemoth Reactor upgrade, and I know like 90% of you watching this is going, I can't believe Wolf even knows the name of that upgrade. That is the Battlecruiser energy upgrade that will give them a better starting energy so they can use their Yamato cannon on that weapon refit.
This is going to be brutal here in a bit. Once Reality decides to go for that push, like you said, I think just playing a bit with his food.
Oh, this is going to be fun. This is going to be a treat. Battle Cruisers, I haven't commentated them since TBT a long time ago.
Space is going to have to be canceled here, it looks like.
Kill the drone!
Huge commitment to Hellions, in fact, all over the map.
I think he's also just trying to throw them away at this point so he can afford more units. I mean, not throw them away, right, but throw them away in the most efficient way possible.
Yeah, try to find as much damage with them as you can. And just remax in those Battle Cruisers. He's going to go straight in here towards that 3rd base. This is so many Hellions, but it doesn't look like they're going to get any damage done. 4 drones.
I want to point out that Curious has not yet scouted the Battle Cruisers, and Hydralis, as much as you might think that they are back at home, viewers, are not the counter to Battle Cruisers. Battle Cruisers will melt them, especially with any sort of siege tank support. He's going to need Corruptors, and Ultras are definitely not the answer. Like, Neural can be an answer on Infestors, but not, he doesn't, you know.
Even so, there's like so many tanks on the ground to deal those Infestors. Look at all these SCVs being thrown away, too. I think Curious is starting to have a good idea of the fact that Reality is just throwing away supply for something bigger and better. So, do we see him even going for that? He's getting the +2 to air weapons, but no commitment to air units just yet.
Yeah, I think he knows that Widow Mine. Not 100% sure, though. He just sends one Roach, actually, instead. Hellbat's going to go over here and try to force another cancel on this hatchery, meanwhile. More bases being added just for more mule firepower. Battlecruiser count right now is at 5, I believe 4. Okay, soon to be 5, 5th one on the way. They are going to be 3-3 Battlecruisers when this plating upgrade finishes. So, it's about to be pretty nasty.
Yeah, this is going to be pretty gross.
Look at that.
Curious right now. He's getting all this tech. He's got the energy upgrade for his Infestors. He hasn't made any Infestor. He's got that Ultra. Then he hasn't made any Ultras. You know, he's getting all these upgrades and stuff, but he's just stuck on this one composition that's just not going to do well against what Reality's got.
Reality has so much energy on these BCs. He's getting the weapon refit, and once that's ready, the Yamato cannon will be able to do just insane single target damage to, for example, these Vipers. Possibly later on, some of the structures that Curious is going to be adding, all of these Spore Crawlers. He's going to be wanting to use that weapon refit on those big, important targets. Look at this, even with the pull here, he just doesn't have the damage to take out this 3-3 battle, because look how long it lives. It lives so long.
It finally goes down, but only with all of those Hydras firing at it 4 times.
If he brings the tanks with him, this is just simply not going to happen. And now they come.
Yeah. He's going to do a slow push here on creep. He's slowly scanning out all these creep tuners.
We do see Infestors on the way.
Look at what Reality's going for. He's going for a counterattack with Hydras. And in fact, they go on a move towards the tanks of Reality and loses a bunch of them.
This is a good move. This other move by Curious to try to attack with the Roaches behind the rocks. I think that might catch him off guard a little bit. Might get into his production. He's got a few tanks here. Oh, sieging up a bit too late. It's actually going to be a big problem, this Roach force. could force him to turn around with some of these units. He may opt to base trade. Well, not base trade, but, you know, continue to push forward just simply because he will hold the Roach attack. And here we go. Let's see some Yamatos. Let's get fancy, Reality. 3-3 Thor's, well, +3 armor, not quite done yet, but it's almost done. 3-3 Thor's going to even do decently well against a small Roach count.
Oh, man. Curious can't even remax right now. He's supply blocked. He's got 130 max supply with the Overlords he's got. All those Vikings sniped out of the Overlords over at that natural base. And Curious had a very cute, harassing force at the third base of Reality, but this is a real harassing force what Reality's throwing at Curious. GG.
It looks like me playing the Wings of Liberty campaign, man.
Kind of. That was extremely one-sided, in fact. Just a failed all-in from Curious there on 2 bases, and he allowed Reality to get way, way too far ahead on a great mech map. And Reality is an amazing meching Terran. And he basically played straight into Reality's hands. He was able to hold that off just barely. Reality did get the scout with his Vikings of all those Banelings coming his way. He knew exactly what was going to come, and he just made a bunch of Hellions, held it off with flying colors, and took that game in the end of all things. Just got way, way too far ahead.
Because he realized how far ahead he was, he committed so much of his resource into those starports and getting battle cruisers out. And when you actually get the battle cruisers out that early and the Berserk doesn't have the answer yet, which is usually Corruptors with the support of Vipers, like Hydras do okay against battle cruisers if you can get them 1 by 1. But when you bring that many siege tanks on the ground with them, it's just like, you're not going to have a chance. I'm sorry. Yeah. So he basically just went to supreme late game with the early advantage he took. This sort of situation almost never happens. So it's hard to like compare this to another game or compare this to another strat. It's not like the way to beat Zerg is to rush battle cruisers. That's just not that's not how this works. It's just like going back to what you said earlier. Curious was so behind, he committed to the Mulus, which then further did no damage to Reality perfectly, was ready for them. And then Curious was like on 4 bases around the same time Reality was, and that just should never happen versus Meg ever.
I think Reality actually got his 4th base up first. That's how far ahead he was at that point. And in a game we expected Curious to take, this is going to put Samsung in a great position. In fact, taking that first game, we're going to jump into Journey versus MMA here for game number 2. Another TBT.
Another TBT.